I'm Meenu Siraslewala, Executive Editor of DataQuest Magazine, will be your host for the day. We are privileged to have with us a visionary in the field, the head pre-sales and CTO of Hitachi Vantara Indian SAARC, Mr. Sanjay Agrawal. As the CTO and head of the solution architect team, Sanjay spearheads the charge in driving digital transformation endeavors for enterprises. His expertise lies in navigating the realms of hybrid cloud, big data, data ops, and data center modernization to propel organizations towards innovation and efficiency. So, Sanjay will guide us through the exploration of leveraging data to pave the way for innovation. Let's give him a round of applause and let him share his thoughts with us today. Sanjay.
Thank you, Meenu. Good morning. Uh, I won't take much time before the technical session starts. I just wanted to set the stage. We are talking about data, and every organization is trying to become data-driven organization. But let me take a step back before we talk about data and data foundation as to why we are doing this. So if you look at one thing that every organization is doing today is digital transformation. Within the digital transformation, organizations are trying to achieve three things. One is an exceptional customer experience. Second is improvement in processes and automations so that internal efficiency is improved. They also want to look at data, from a business model redefinition perspective. All the three things, if you look at, centered around data. Customer experience, for example, banks are looking at the data that not only comes from the production systems, core banking systems, but the data from outside so that they can understand customers better and define the strategies and offerings, keeping those data points in mind. So data is at the core of digital transformation, and that's why those organizations moving towards digital transformation, first step for them is, can we do something around data first? So if we look at the data, and as Meenu mentioned, and as the video was also highlighting, companies have become data rich, but very few companies are data driven. What I mean by companies being data rich is you have data, you have enough data, you have gathered data from almost every element and entity that is generating data. But are you able to extract value out of it? Are you able to use that value and insight to take some actions that helps you do better for your business? And that's where the data-driven decisions and data-driven organizations are being talked about. Now let's look at why it's not easy from a data-driven journey perspective. Today, there are multiple challenges that are happening. Number one, data is everywhere. Data is being generated by humans, machines, and also business applications. Data, or rather these applications and entities, are at different data centers, different clouds, different sites, microsites, and things like that. So data is everywhere, and getting a unified approach is not easy. Apart from that, cloud adds to the complication. It's not centered on earth, on-prem, and you have hybrid cloud and multi-cloud. Data traditionally was transactional data, but today you have semi-structured data, unstructured data that's getting generated from machines and humans. On top of that, you saw the theme of the event today. We are talking about data foundation, infrastructure. That's one area that people have ignored. Legacy technologies are not good enough for you to create a foundation that will be self-sustainable and that will allow you to shift the focus. So one of the major challenges that organizations are facing is most of their time, 70 to 80% of the time, is going to keep the lights on. They have very little left to spend time on monetization, insights, and innovations. Whole industry is moving towards creating a self-sustainable that keeps the lights on infrastructure by flipping this ratio from 30-70 to 70. And we'll talk about that when it comes to panel discussions. So last slide, I want to share with you to become data-driven organizations, what are typical milestones that CIOs have today, those who have successfully created a data-driven organization. And this is something very interesting. When the data gets generated, first and foremost thing is for CIOs to get the data, store it, place it properly, and ensure that you have data protection in place, you have management technology, management initiatives in place, so that data is available anytime for future. Many of you would agree that today organizations have ended up with petabytes of data, and many times they don't know what these data sets are. You have heard the names like dark data, dark files, files that you are not knowing in. So people have started looking at an initiative known as file analytics, so that you can reduce the footprint of the data and bring it to the valuable data that is required for analysis. I have seen enterprises doing this analytics and dark data assessment, reducing the data footprint from 10 petabyte to 2 petabyte. Data that's duplicated, data is not required, all those can be removed so that you have a thin footprint as well. After you do this analytics, then you identify what are the things to be done, and take some actions to ensure that you have the right technology, right investments, and all of that. One of the biggest challenges today is in the digital data space, predominantly the data that gets generated from machines and humans, because searching that data, discovering that data itself is a big problem. We need to address that, otherwise 70 to 80% data that remains digital data is not visible at all. So there is something known as data enrichment. Data enrichment is all about adding metadata to the data that's unstructured, so that it is visible to the organization and you can search it, discover it whenever you need. Otherwise, your 70% to 80% data remains invisible. Data catalog, you all are aware of it. Data catalog is very important for any kind of business data discovery. And data catalog and file catalog both are equally important today when we talk about digital data. If the data catalog is not populated, you don't have visibility, your initiatives to drive data-driven would be impacted. After doing all of these, you put together a strategy. Of course, hybrid cloud is going to be a part of your strategy. Which data set would be here, which data set would be on the cloud. And sometimes if this strategy goes wrong, you end up putting a data on cloud that's not meaningful technically or commercially. So you need to have this strategy in place before you move data to the cloud. As we speak, there are organizations who have taken 2-3 petabytes data to cloud, and now they are struggling to bring it back because exit criteria, infra build, rebuild, and all of that will come to the picture. And then move after building a strategy, you need the desired data or the qualified data to the cloud. The last piece, which is from a monetization perspective, is activate data. When you have 2-3 sets of data points like structured data, semi-structured, unstructured data, or business data, machine data, human data, unless you blend those data points and get a unified view, 360-degree view, you will not be able to actually derive the value of it. To give a context to it and meaning to it, banks, for example, have been identifying customers based on the products that customers buy and the channels they use. That used to be a 360-degree view of customers for many decades. But today, banks are blending this data with the data that comes from interactions, social media, review sites, and when they blend it, they get a very different picture of the customer, and they redefine the go-to-market strategy, customer acquisition strategy, and product strategy. So that's what is the activation of the data, so that you can use the data that is not sitting in enterprise, blend it, activate it, and come up with different insights. And then that leads to the monetization. So this is a typical journey that CIOs globally are following, and we'll have a lot of discussions as we move forward around this to ensure that you end up creating a very strong data foundation before you monetize the data and before you take it. Thank you. And of course, that goes with sustainability, the compliance, security as well. Thank you.